Victor Altamirano, LFA Flyweight champ, who is preparing for his Contender Series bout at the end of August. Vic, how is training camp been so far?
It's going great. It's really good. My strength and conditioning has been up ever since my fight. Prepping for the fight with Lloyd McKinney. Ever since we've been ramping up the strength and conditioning. So this fight coming up, we have 3 fight camps now with this new and improved strength and conditioning, and I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling the positions. I'm feeling stronger. I'm feeling faster. My cardio's never been better, and just overall, the training, the fighting camps, it's been going great.
I've got to ask you, because this is the first time we've spoke since the LFA title win.
Yeah,
the unanimous decision win over Nate Smith. How does the memory of that feel for you now, a couple of months removed?
It feels great. It feels really wonderful to have achieved something like that. You know, I think that every career, no matter what field you're in, you always have that one accolade, that one thing that will mean a lot to you to achieve. And in my career, my MMA career, just having won the belt in one of the biggest organizations under the UFC, I mean, that's a big deal to me. And just having achieved it, it means a great deal to me. I mean, I didn't take the scholar route. I didn't, manage to make myself a scholar. But I imagine it's what it's like to write your thesis or get a PhD, just accomplish something big in your field. It feels really cool. I also have to take into consideration that there's still a lot more to be done. And I need to make sure that I don't let that wonderful memory, that wonderful experience to take away from the focus that I need to be presenting now with what's standing before me.
Looking back on your performance in that fight, how happy are you with your performance?
I was really happy. Of course, there's always times and places where I could have done better. And a finish is always the goal, whether it be a submission or a KO or a TKO. That's always, of course, the goal. That's always, of course, the best case scenario for any fighter. I wasn't able to do that, but I think that speaks volumes to the caliber of opponents that I am now beginning to face. So, but I was happy with it.
I don't know if you know this, but your original opponent, Carlos Mota, when the odds came out for that fight, you were the favorite, and then when Mota pulled out and Nate Smith came in, you were the underdog. That's a statement from the betting line to put a guy on 6 days' notice as the favorite. What did you make of that?
Well, he is a high-level athlete. He's an Olympian. I think he's a bronze medalist in Greco-Roman.
Yeah.
And he's also a former Contender Series fighter. So he's fought in the Contender Series. And, someone of that caliber, whether you follow the sport closely or not, you look at the accolades that he has accomplished. There are not a lot of people competing, not a lot of Olympians competing that are not in the UFC.
Yeah.
So you look at it that way, you're like, oh, it makes sense,
Let's move from past to future, if you like. So as I mentioned, no signs to fight on Dana White Contender Series against Vinicius Salvador. Is that still the intended opponent, or did I read that Salvador?
It is not. We got news earlier this week. Actually late last week, that due to visa problems, he's not going to be able to make it, which it's kind of concerning. Not for me, but it's just in the sport in general. I hope Brazil's doing something. I hope whoever his camp is, I hope they're getting things straightened out or together, because a lot of people, I don't think it's fair for people to miss out on big opportunities for things that are not out of their control, such as this. So I feel bad for him, and I hope that it gets fixed soon. I mean, he's gonna make it to the Contender Series, or he's gonna make it to the big stage eventually. He seems to have the talent and skill to do so. So I hope the best for him. My new opponent now, it's Carlos Candelario, and I think he's from Connecticut, so from the Northeast here in the U.S. Very excited about that. Still a very good, another former Contender Series fighter.
What is that like for you? Because obviously this is the biggest fight of your life. You win this fight impressively. You're in the UFC. And now you've got a last-minute change of opponents. How does that feel for you?
Well, I think that I've had a lot of last-minute change of opponents many times. And at the beginning, when it first happened, it was a little concerning. You're prepping for a fighter. You're putting a lot of focus on the way you should be training, and then you get an opponent change. And at first, it's a little concerning. But this has happened enough in my career where you just, do what you do already. You just face the adversity that you have, whatever it may be, gather what you need, and then you go forward. I think that it is important to acknowledge the difference in opponents. It is important to acknowledge the difference in skills and how you're going to have to accommodate the differences between them. But outside of that, it's just another fight. It's just another fight, and it's another wonderful opportunity to move forward.
What have you seen of your new opponent, and how do you think you match up for him against him skill set for skill set?
I think his striking is a little more technical than my former opponent. Both of my opponents said I was going to have finishes. Now Carlos, he's a little more technical, a little more tight. He's not as erratic as Vinicius. Just as aggressive, just a little more clean when it comes to technique and the striking. He does have good ground defense, and he is very active. So when it comes to the pace and the aggression, it is still a very high one. We're still prepared for a high pace, high aggression fight. The only difference now being is that we're going to have to stay tight in our movement, as opposed to Vinicius, where we were going to stay tight with our angles. For Carlos, we're going to stay tight with our angles and tight with our movements, because he is a more technical striker than Vinicius was.
Superb. Now, as I mentioned, this is the Dana White Contender Series, but we do see a lot of LFA champions move straight to the UFC ranks without this Contender Series fight. Were you surprised by that, or were you expectant of the Contender Series call up?
I was very surprised. I think that I don't know how fans see it, but I feel like the LFA carries a certain weight, and winning the LFA belt should equate to a UFC contract. Especially because my last opponents were former Contender Series opponents. I mean, I had Chris O'Con and I had Nate Smith, not back to back, but I had them too. And, after winning the LFA belt against another former Contender Series athlete, then I think, I don't want to sound ungrateful, but why should I go to the Contender Series? I already proved myself that I can beat the caliber of fighters that the Contender Series brings. So, I would like to get a contract. I would like to go straight into the UFC. But maybe this is an experience I need to go through. It's never been, not a lot of things have been just given to me. And the fact that I wasn't just given a UFC contract is whatever to me. Nothing's been really given to me. I'm okay with going this route. I'm okay with just fighting another fight and just pushing through this slight inconvenience, I think. I think that's what makes a fighter. It's like, oh, you don't always get what you want. So you can either quit or you can push forward.
Of course. Now listen, Vic, as we know about the Contender Series, you're not guaranteed a contract with a win. You will need a very impressive performance, maybe even a finish to get over the line. Does that add any extra pressure going into this fight, that you need to win convincingly and impressively?
There is not as much pressure, perhaps an inspiration. Okay. I think that my repertoire has been seen. I think that people know what I have. And I think that I'll be able to more freely express my skill here. As you mentioned, a victory is not a guaranteed contract, but a loss is also not a guaranteed not contract. We've seen many people get a contract after a loss following an entertaining fight. So I think that for the Contender Series, perhaps, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to my perspective that people just want to see a show. They want to see a good fight. They want to see people toe the line and have it be amazing and entertaining. And with that in mind, that's what I'm wanting to do. I'm going to set aside winning and losing. I'm going to set aside the fact that I better win or I better, whatever. My focus right now is to enjoy the performance, to enjoy the moment, and to just do what I love to do, because I don't think that it's going to be a boring fight if I just let it all out. Whether win or lose, it won't be a boring fight if I just let myself enjoy the moment that I'm living.
Is that how you feel? Like this is a moment to enjoy as opposed to a moment to be fearful and anxious of, if you like?
Yeah, I feel like this is the moment to be free, the moment to be free, the moment to have no attachments to, well, this is the biggest opportunity. Yes, it is a big opportunity, but I cannot attach myself to I better win as much as I should attach myself to I better be really happy and really grateful and enjoy this moment. And I think that on itself will also bring me the victory if I just make sure that the priority is not necessarily to win at all costs, but to enjoy myself at all costs.
I think that's why I love talking to you, because you this perspective that you always had since we first spoke in December. This love for fighting, this acceptance that this is something that you should enjoy and you should relish.
Yes, very much. I mean, I don't care what you do in life. It doesn't have to be fighting, but why would you want to do something you don't like doing? You know, why would you do something you don't enjoy doing? And if you do enjoy doing it, why would you ever do so without enjoying it?
Of course. Now, obviously, this is something I wanted to mention was if you get this contract and you make your way into the UFC, with the greatest of respect to 125, it's not the most stacked division in the world. It is quite a shallow division, and you could find yourself quite easily up at the top of the ranks. Do you feel like you're ready for the top end of this division at this stage of your career?
I feel like I'm ready right now. I feel like if Brandon wants to take the title and would give me the opportunity to fight for the title, and they call me short notice to do so instead of the Contender Series, I will feel confident enough to do it. I think I can do it. I know I can do it. All I need is the opportunity. At this moment of my career, I'm loving everything. I'm loving every minute of it. I'm loving the training. I'm loving the camp. I'm loving the conditioning. I'm loving my training partners. And I'm loving the opportunities that I'm given. And given the opportunity to fight for the title, I have nothing to lose. And I will take that this weekend if need be. I'm on weight. But, you know, some of that is not up to me.
Of course. I did want to ask you about Brandon Moreno, the Mexican champ. Obviously, you were born in Mexico City. Was that a proud moment for you seeing him lift that world title?
No, it was great. It was great. It wasn't surprising at all. I mean, fighters come from Mexico. Maybe Moreno is the first MMA fighter to hold that, but I wasn't surprised. I mean, how many boxers have you seen? You know, Mexico is not foreign to combat sports. Mexico is not foreign to fighting, and neither it is to producing fighters.
Yes.
And this new generation, MMA, relatively still a new sport. It took a little bit, but Brandon Moreno has set the stamp. It's like, okay, here comes Mexico. We did it in boxing, and we're about to do it in MMA. And I think that as the MMA sport grows and years go by, just like boxing did, you know, you're going to see more people from Mexico representing in the UFC, in F1, you know, in MMA in general, because I don't know if that's the gross export, but it seems to be sometimes.
I did want to ask about that because boxing is synonymous with Mexican fighters and Mexican rivalries. We saw amazing rivalries in the 90s and early 2000s. Could we one day see Vic Altamirano square off against Brandon Moreno in an all Mexican clash?
Oh, most definitely. I think one of my, you know, there are goals and there are dreams, and goals are things that you can achieve if you just put your mind to it and, you know, whatever it takes. But then there are dreams that no matter how much you put your mind into it, there are still things that are your control that also depend on this. So this is not a goal. This is a dream of mine, is to fight Brandon Moreno in Mexico City, in the heart of Tenochtitlan, where we are from. You know, he's not from that part of Mexico, but that is the epitome. That is what I would love to happen. Fighting Brandon Moreno for the title, that's a goal. Fighting Brandon Moreno for the title in Mexico City, that's a dream. So those two things, that's what I would like.
Do we have a time frame on that UFC world title fight out of interest? Have you got something planned out in your mind where you think that's the goal to get to that point at that stage? Or
yeah, that's the goal to get to that point. And like I mentioned before, as far as being ready, that goal can be done this weekend.
Yeah.
As far as be given this opportunity, that maybe whatever it takes, however long it takes, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. That part's not up to me. But, like I said, I can do it this weekend if they like.
Well, let's turn the conversation back to the fight at hand. You do know from talking with me previously, I do like a prediction, Vic. So I'm going to ask you for a prediction for your Contender Series fight at the end of this month.
All right.
What
So
happens,
my prediction?
What happens for you in your Contender Series bout at the end of this month?
At the end of this month, man, I don't like to do predictions. I feel like predictions lead to attachments of certain ideas, and I don't think that I can truly be free if I've already given myself a place to be.
Okay.
I can't really be free if I've already told myself how something is going to happen. Because at that point, I'm not really being free. I'm just waiting for something to happen as I predicted it. And that keeps me from being adaptable. That keeps my mind from being malleable. That keeps me from being able to react and overcome in the moment. But I will predict that it will be fun. I will predict that it will be enjoyable. I will predict that it's going to be a fight that people are going to want to see. And I will predict that there will be a lot of skill and passion displayed in the octagon.
Well, that's all you can ask for. And before we finish, I just want to say I'm very happy to see you in this position, and I truly wish you all the best for this fight at the end of the month.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the platform. I would like to thank everybody on that side of the hemisphere, and I'd like to thank you for connecting me to them.
It's all my pleasure, Vic, and I'm happy that we've been able to speak as many times as we have. You are my first person to appear for 3 interviews, so that should be a milestone that you should cover very highly.
I sure do.
Before we finish, Vic, how can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Vic_Altamirano. So Vic_ALTAMIRANO. And Twitter at Vic_, and then same thing with my last name.
And before we finish, anything you want to say or sign off with at all?
I would like to thank you again. I would like to thank you, and I would like to thank all the fans. I wish the best for you. You've been doing great. I've been seeing all these awesome interviews. Patty, that's a big deal, man. And it's from your town. That's really good. So I would like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank you, everybody on that side of the hemisphere. I would like to take a little visit over there and see what's up. And maybe you can hook us up with Patty and have a little training session.
You get over here, Vic, and I'll hook you up with as many people as I can.
Perfect.
Have a great day today, my friend.
You too, Mike. Have a good one.